Yeah, so hi Dhruv. Welcome to Colors of Humans. Why did you get into like photography and wildlife photography?
I guess wildlife photography. It started back in 2010. So I had a Nikon P600, which is like a point and shoot camera. So I used to go around Bangalore, shoot around Sankey Tank. Like I was always interested in animals and birds because we had 8 dogs at home, and I was fascinated with birds. So I used to go around Bangalore photographing these cormorants and egrets. And in 2010, I went to Kabini for the first time, and just realizing the biodiversity we have there, especially the big cats like leopards and tigers, just the amount of animals and the thrill that we have in tracking them, I guess got me into photography. And yeah, so that's where it all started.
So 2010, that's like 10 years now.
Yep.
So like, how's it been? Like, what's the craziest adventure you've gone on?
Oh, a lot of crazy adventures. I mean, it's like majority of my stories, of course, come from Kabini because that's where I spend most of my time. Out of the past like 10 years, I've at least had around 30 trips to Kabini, and I guess if you'd want one super crazy story, it would be my last trip actually. When I went
That was the
for the
news
first
article one,
day.
right? The
Oh no, the news article was 2019. It was in like October 2020. My bad. And my recent trip was actually April first week, and that's where basically our we went into this road called Kaimara, which is basically the panther territory. Me, Shaz, my mom was there, and then Mithun Hungund, if you've heard. So
no.
we were there in the Mithun Hungund is another photographer. He's also filmed for Nat Geo. So we were all in the jeep, and
Oh, wow. Okay.
there was a tree branch. It had rained, and the tree branch got stuck in between the car silencer, and then we didn't realize, and we just kept driving. And a few meters ahead, the silencer just fell off the car, and the silencer was off. It was just like the exhaust fallen apart, and it was just us in the jeep, and we're in the middle of the jungle, and it's almost time to get out. It was around 7 o'clock in the evening, and we are supposed to exit by 7:30. We had no way. Either we had to cut out the exhaust, or we had to like just drive along, and it just I guess it'd break. So we spent a good 30 minutes trying to rip off a seatbelt with a screwdriver, and we eventually, I think it took us around 40 minutes. We got the seatbelt off, and we were the driver got down to tie the exhaust to the grill of the jeep, and that's when we heard a warning call, which is basically deer making calls when there's a big cat around. And it started raining again. It started pouring, and then we finally tied the exhaust, and we go a little ahead, take a left, and then there is a huge male tiger. We call him Fisheye. He was just sitting there. It was around 8:30 in the night. No other jeeps, no other vehicles in the forest. It was just us. If we had gotten lost, no network, nothing. And a tiger just probably was around 200 meters away from us, where we had gotten down to fix the exhaust. So I guess that's one of the scariest things that's happened.
Yeah. So like, how's the experience? Like, I want to know about the news article one. Like, the it was a Black Panther, right? And
Right.
how was that experience? Like, what is like the camp and stuff for those type of shoots?
Right. So I mean, the panther is nothing. You just go on the normal safari, right? The normal safari which your resorts take you on. But knowing how elusive the panther is, because there's only one in the entire forest, and even in India, if you consider this panther, it's the only trackable or the only documented panther in this country. So basically, the panther came in around 2013, and there was not much hype around him until, let's say, 2015. And 2015, everyone got to know the Black Panther because of Shahs. And then in 2015, I think end 2015, 2015 November again was when I'd first gone. And since the November of 2015, my only dream was to capture the panther, right? It was like I've seen tigers, I've seen leopards, the the jungle has so much to offer, but it's, you have that craving, right? Like you want to see the one animal which is the rarest. So I spent every year from 2015 to November 2020. I'd spent around 25 trips, and which is basically you have two safaris every day, and an average trip of mine would be for 7 days. So that means 14 safaris, and each safari lasts for 4 hours. So 14, it's basically, let's say 14 safaris, 14 into 25. So around, let's say 9,020, or like that was the average, 9,020 minutes, if you'd consider it on the whole, across 5 years, waiting to just see this Black Panther. So his territory is just a loop in the forest in Kabini A zone. If you've been to Kabini, there's A zone, and then he's in this loop between Powerline, Kaimara, Balle, and Barballe. So it's just an entire loop that you keep doing. And his territory is around there. If you hear warning calls, it might either be a leopard, a female, or there's another leopard that resides in his territory, or the panther. So after 9,000 minutes, it was a morning safari. The last safari, I think I'd been there for 4 days, and fifth day, last morning safari, and then we were supposed to come to Bangalore. So it was around 9 o'clock in the morning, and 9:30 again we have to exit. So it was all the action happens at the last minute, because that's when the thrill just gets better. So it's just how nature works, I suppose. So
Also,
around 9 o'clock,
is it because like the animals know that like people won't be around at that time, like towards?
Nothing as such. I guess it's just once there's more heat, they wake up, because they usually rest in the cold weather, or they hunt in the cold weather, and it's usually they just walk, marking the territory in the morning. They go in search of water, so it's just probability, and I guess the odds are just more later in the safari. So you either do late in the morning is for the panther, and then early evening again. There's a lot of movement. So it was around 9 o'clock, and then we just finished the loop around Barballe, which is like the deepest part of A zone. So we finished the final loop, and then Shaz just has incredible hearing. So I was with Shaz on this safari, and then he said langur, which is a type of monkey, is does also gives a alarm call like a deer. So Shah said our driver's name is Amjad. That's who we always take when you go to a jungle lodges. So he's our go-to driver. And so Shah says Amjad, langur call hai road par. So I'm like, okay, it might be for a tiger or leopard, because I'd never seen the panther. I'd spent 5 years and I'd lost all hope, saying, okay, last safari, no panther. And then we go, and it's this Barley Road, which goes straight back to Kaimara, and then there's this dip, and we go up. So we just our car immediately, like we rip on those times, right? Because you don't want to miss the sighting. So we go straight up, and this guy is just walking straight on the road. So that it was an incredible, I think, let's say an hour spent with the panther, right? Because we're supposed to exit by 9:30, but all the vehicles there till like 9:45 till 10. So we were the only jeep. He walked in front of us for around 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes. Then he turned around, marked territory on a couple of trees, and then stood on a log, walked, and then just went into the lantana. And then few minutes later, he was gone. Let's say for around a good 6 minutes, and then he went in, climbed up a tree, slept there, and he was there apparently until the evening safari. But we had come back to Bangalore, so he was on the same tree asleep.
So how was that for
What was it
you?
like capturing the panther? Yeah, exactly. How did it feel?
I mean, so
Like
I'd
wait,
comment to this under Shaz's post, because we both put.
especially since you said like it was your dream, and like I think what it was like 4 years, right? So
Yeah,
that
so it was around 5 years. So let's. I'd commented this on the Shahs, right? It's basically once I saw a black tail, which is because he was walking this way. He was walking in front of us. As soon as I saw a black tail, it was like I was shivering. So if you see majority of my photos that I've taken, if I show you my entire raw, the folder of the raw files, you're gonna see half of them are out of focus, because it's especially if you waited or committed so much time to clicking, to just trying to find one animal, when you see it, it's just chills down your spine. Like you just, it's like the dopamine rush is there, and you're just like your hand starts shaking, and uh, it was like the at least for the first 5 minutes when he walked straight in front of us. I guess 90% of my pictures are blurred. That's why most of the pictures you see on my Instagram are when he went straight, turned around, and looked at us. That's when I had to stay still and click pictures. But I just have one focused picture of him walking ahead of us for 5 minutes because I was like, I'm not gonna, exaggerate by saying, oh, I had tears. I really felt a chill in my spine. My legs and hands were shaking, and I had to sit, even though I had a 200 500, which is quite a light lens compared to the one that I'm using now. 200 500 lens. I just held it. I couldn't hold it with my hand. I had to rest it on the car grill and then take a picture. It was just incredible, man. The panther is just an incredible creature.
Wait, when you tell me that there's only one recorded panther in India, like is that like there's only one that's like actually been seen?
So in terms of recorded, I mean, where you know its territory and you know it survives. So there was a 1996 census saying Dandeli, which is a forest in North Karnataka, close to Hubli, I suppose, where basically there was a recorded there were 16 panthers that were recorded back in 1996, but panthers there were never seen in the safari zone, and the safari zone is just 30 kilometers. The span is just one of the biggest forests in the Western Ghats. It's around 3 times the size of Kabini. So they say there are eight, but there hasn't been any proven. There have been pictures or videos, but taken on phone and far away. So you don't know where the territory is. You don't know where it lives, and if it survives as this panther has been seen every alternate week for, like, let's say, the past 9 years. So yeah,
And you also started SPPA, right? Society for
right.
Protection of Plants and Animals. What brought you to start that?
So again, it all loops back to a cycle, right? Because I had 8 dogs at home when I was just 8 years old, and just the compassion I had towards these dogs. And when I was going to school one day, in front of the embassy, which is in Alyaska Road, there was this dog with a plastic pot stuck around its neck, which is basically, the pots they get water in. And I think,
Yeah.
those labels that are there. For some reason, a stray dog had a pot stuck on its neck and it was bleeding. And I saw it in the morning while going to school. And then I used to live in Cunningham Road back then. So I saw it while going, and then I thought, okay, maybe someone will realize, because it's there out on the streets in the open. Someone who's probably older than me is going to see it and then say, oh, I'm gonna go treat the dog, or like help remove the pod. But 9 hours later, which is approximately how much our school lasted, 3 o'clock when I was going back, I saw it at the same place, but the pot was still there and the bleeding had just gotten worse. Like, it had blood stains all over its body. And I went home. I told my mom and my driver, saying, I've seen this dog. It's in pain and I cannot stand to watch it. And when I was 8, it was just like my mind just scolding people who are older, saying, "Oh, I'm 8 years old. Why do I have to care about this dog when there are so many other people who actually have the resources, the money, the time to take this dog to a hospital at least." But then we knew that we had a family vet who we used to take our dogs to. So I went there, rushed that dog, and we took the dog in our own car. We had the pot cut out with a scissor, and after that, it was when I went to school. I came to school. It was in third grade. And I think, Akul, you might know Shreyas Kuchibotla and
Yeah.
Gautam Dayal and stuff. So
Yeah.
I came and told the story to them, saying, oh, like, I found this dog and I treated it. And it felt so nice, right? Because the dog initially was not, didn't allow my driver to touch it. But then after we got it treated and, like, the bleeding stopped, we got it dressed, it was like a completely different emotion that it showed, right? Because animals, whether you say they might be able to express themselves or not, whatever dilemma you have, they still can emotionally connect, especially when they know that you've helped them. that's when it became quiet, right? We gave it food, and it was like really the compassion it showed back, the reactions it gave back to us for helping it was what inspired me. And after I told the story, everyone in school went haywire. They're like, "Oh, that's so nice! Oh, you that we saved a dog." And like the Shreyas Kuchibotla, another animal enthusiast, he's like, "Oh, then there's a bird near my house that's not well." And then it started like a chain back in third grade. Like we saved around three birds and two dogs. And from there, we realized, if we can spread this to all the kids in our school, then maybe we can make a bigger impact. So then we started it. We started SPPA back in third grade, and then, of course, over the years, it's evolved, and that's basically that's how it started, though.
So what is it now, and what is it that you guys do now?
So we're into a vast area of things, and just to explain it, I've not put it out there on a live platform anywhere before. Like I've not expressed it to someone yet because this is a conversation where I can talk about SPPA in general and what we do. Uh, how SPPA always how SPPA has always worked with me is that, how there are these NGOs, right? You go to majority of the NGOs, they'll be like, "Oh, please donate so we can make an impact. Please donate so we can, save a dog. Please donate so we can rescue an animal. Please donate so we can plant a tree." For me, SPPA was collecting the resources we have or getting either funds or whatever it is from a secondhand source, but not saying, "Oh, please donate it to an NGO so we're going to do the work." So it was like, I remember, buying seeds to plant in my backyard, and then paying for the veterinary bills for a couple of birds we saved. I remember selling origami arts. This was in show and tell back when Miss Priya had told me and a couple of my classmates to do it. So we sold the origami and we told Miss Priya we want like 2,000, a cut of 2,000 from all of that so that we can, use it for ourselves. And then me, Shreyas, we put it back into the NGO. We paid the veterinary bills. And how SGP has always worked is that we always make the impact first, right? So now we fed 6,000 stray animals, 6,000 odd stray animals during the previous lockdown, the hard lockdown that we had the first time. So we fed 6,000 animals, and we never asked for donations or anything. We had a college canteen that provided us with food. We paid the petrol bill ourselves, and then four of us from our volunteers and us, we just went around during the lockdown. We got a pass from the police, and we fed these animals. And what we did rather was promote this initiative later. So the entire fundamental of how SPPA works is we first make the impact and then we promote what we have done, rather than asking people to help us and then, you do the impact and we like tell you what to do. So that's how it worked. And what we've done now is we've partnered with Koti Vriksha Abhiyan, which is an NGO in my native of Bijapur. And we planted over 1 crore trees in just 5 years, which is the forest cover of this district was 0.17%. And over the past 5 years, the goal of Koti Riksha Abhiyana, which is partnered with the Forest Department and SPPA, was that we spread awareness to like people because Koti Riksha Abhiyana. Let me just explain how it works, right? Let's just to take it back a step. So what we do is we have over 100 block plantations where we source saplings from a forest department nursery, and we either plant it in these block plantations or we subsidize ornamental forest and fruit bearing saplings to farmers of the entire district in a subsidized rate, right? So if you want a apple or a mango sapling for, let's say, which is around 70 rupees in a normal nursery, we give it for 5 or 4 rupees. So what we did is and then the forest department, because we had their help, they track these trees every year. And once a sapling is complete a year cycle and it's still healthy, we know that it's going to survive any weather condition next. So what we did is over the past 5 years, we donated and planted over 1 crore trees, and we brought the forest percentage of this district from 0.17% to 15%, which is the normal for any district in and around India. So that's one project we've done, and there are many other projects which we've done a rural awareness program where we taught over 4,200 students from over 16 villages again around the district of Bijapur. We taught them because in NAFL or wherever we were, we had the internet, we had computers, so we all have access to internet basically, even at home, where we can research and we hear about global warming and climate change. But these rural students, right, students who go to these schools in villages, government schools in villages, they have no way to research and learn about global warming themselves unless the school teaches it themselves, right? So what we did is we taught these 4,200 odd students uh, what is global warming, what is climate change, and as the rural people who are probably going to move to cities and cause urbanization, what are the few things they can keep in mind to make this planet a better place and take small actions again to conserve this planet. So that's another big campaign we've done. So that's pretty much of what we've done with SPPA.
Where do you see it going in the future, Dhruv? What do you expect of it to happen? What do you expect to happen in, let's say, 5 years?
Okay, so 5 years. Basically, again, right? As we seize every opportunity that we get. So the pandemic, lockdown, where these stray dogs didn't get any food because the hotels and these carts were not there. They didn't have access to food, and then we saw that opportunity. We seized it, and we said, okay, these stray animals now need help, and we took food from our college canteen, and then we fed it to these stray animals. So uh, over the 5 years, if you'd ask me, a solid plan would be continuing a phase two with Koti Ruksha Abhiyan from 1 crore to maybe, let's say, with the forest department, if we can, we're planning to do a 2 or a 4 crore campaign, and we plan with sufficient investments. What and now, Akul, sorry, but like not in 5 years, but let's say in 10 years when I start earning and when I have the money to finance it myself, we want to start a couple of dog orphanages, one in Bangalore and maybe one in Bijapur, my native, because
Hmm.
there is always this argument within the civilians saying, "Oh, the street dogs are like barking in the night, so please take them away." They always ask BBMP to take the dogs away. So what we want to do is create a dog orphanage where we can get a couple of people to maintain it, and the food and the daily cost is not the biggest issue for us, but the biggest issue is getting the initial investment. So let's say 10 years down the line, when I earn and when I make enough, I think my first step would be to make a couple of dog orphanages and maybe a dog ambulance, so that not just dog but any pet ambulance in Bangalore, so that we can specifically treat these animals, as in priority, right? Like how we humans have ambulance when something happens. We want to give the best assurance to these animals, and so that they can survive.
No,
So
that's awesome. That really is. Yeah.
yeah, that's actually
Thank you.
pretty cool. And like, how old are you? Like 19?
18.
That's a lot for someone who's 18. Um, but like, how sustainable is this right now? Like you said, you don't go for funds, right? You don't necessarily ask for funds and stuff. So how sustainable is it? Like, especially with the plantation part.
So the plantation, see, it's just how amazingly the system is all working together, because when we have the forest department working with us itself, right, and planting these trees, sourcing the saplings is not at all an issue. And majority of the plantations we have, over the 100 block plantations that we have around the district, all of them are just government owned land, and these lands we're converting them into man-made forests. So I guess in terms of, let's say, this plantation, there is literally no revenue stream required. And then these people are, of course, buying the saplings for 4 rupees. But what we eventually want to do, especially because the government is working with us, the forest department is working with us, I guess that's one reason this project is sustainable. But without them, I don't think a next phase or even this phase would have even happened, right? Because without fundings to source those incredible numbers of saplings, we get around 21 lakh saplings every year. So it's June now. So this is when the nursery is full. The plants are grown, and the nursery, we start giving out the plants in monsoon so that they have a better survival rate. So now we have this year, and every year we have an average of 21 lakhs. So now we have 21.3 lakh trees in our nursery in Bijapur. So in terms of that project, it's sustainable. And even let's say feed the strays and whatever we've done so far, and let's say we have done events with these schools and colleges in Bijapur where they've built bird feeders. So all these events so far are sustainable, and it takes minimum investment, right? Because all we need is the school to give their auditorium and the people to give their attention, and the bowl for birds, which is another project we've done, which is basically building the bird feeders. What we do is we go to a school and we tell them, bring recyclable products. Let's say water bottles, ice cream sticks, coconut shells, whatever you can, bring them, and then we'll give you 2 hours, and it's a competition basis where the winner gets, let's say, a sapling and a t-shirt from the SPPA team. They get these recyclable material, and then they sit for 2 hours and make a bird feeder, and then at the end of the day, if we have 200 students, we have 200 bird feeders, and that doesn't take any investment if you think about it. So it's just trying to be smart, and I don't think taking any funds from people saying, oh, we want money to do this, is, unless I'm in a hurry to make the dog orphanage, as I answered before. If I want to do it like next year, I might be asking for funds, but I don't see a reason, because there's so many NGOs doing the same out there, for us to be one of the other, just one of them taking money and making minor impact, while we have these so many campaigns and events that we can do without taking funds from people.
When you told me like those were government blocks, right, that you had the plantation on, why is that area dry? Like, was there like a construction site? Like, was there something in those sites? Or
So Bijapur has a history of being a dry land, right? It's just, even the plantations that we have, it took a lot of work with because the forest department got in, uh, these cranes that dug out stones, like like a rocky patch. They removed all the stones, and then we had to get mud from nearby farms, people who just gave a little bit of mud. So we got in mud patches for each of the saplings, and then 60,000 saplings are now sitting on fake mud around a rocky patch. So Bijapur is comparable to Jaisalmer, which is in Rajasthan, a desert basically, which has 0.17% forest cover. It's the same, right? So Bijapur has had a history of having dry land, and no tree species last in a 50-degree summer. Our summers here go up to like 45 and 48 degrees, and no natural species other than these lantana or these bushes survive. No big trees survive unless they're taken care of. So now with these 100-block plantations that we've planted, each of them get irrigation either through a water tanker if they're isolated, or one of a few big block plantations like the one we have in the city of Bijapur called, there's a lake called Bhutna Lake. So that itself acts as a water source where we drip irrigate every sapling. So every sapling gets water for 12 hours a day. And so it's because of that, that's the sole reason of how dry the region is, and how it's been, that there hasn't been any trees, and that's what we're trying to change now.
but wait, so if that area is a dry area, like has it been dry for a long time, or is it like recently a dry area?
No, it's been like that since ages. Since the Adil Shahi era, this place has been known for its heat, right? Because there are paintings of Adil Shahi in like the place called Hawa Mahal and stuff. There are paintings and like how they prioritized water so much, because water itself is a scarcity in this region. That's how dry it's always been. But we are trying to change that by,
But wait,
because you have the
when
repercussions of plant. Uh-huh.
when you try and change that, does it affect the ecology, like making a desert like a forest?
Yeah, basically, see, the ecology, there is enough human population around here which can benefit from this, rather than facing a change in ecology which is bad for it, right? This area, there is a lot of agriculture that goes on near the canals and the riverside. So I guess the repercussions are there, and it's all for the benefit, right? Because Bijapur is known as a drought city or a drought district, and now because of these 1 crore trees that we've planted, we're definitely going to see more rainfall. And it's basically, if you see how Bangalore is known as a city of lakes, but now it's become a city of skyscrapers. Same way, we're doing the opposite, right? A drought prone dry land, we're converting it into a normal district which has the the rainfall, the centimeters rainfall that it needs every year. So that's what we've converted it into right now.
I have one last question. Akul, do you have any questions before that?
Um, yeah, sure. So, Dhruv, what's it like translating your work into, direct results? Well, what I mean is, it's one thing to have a certain intention, right? To take care of the animals that aren't being taken care of. That's one thing. Doing it consistently and making sure other people are aware of the difficulties that other creatures and other animals face, that's a completely different ballgame. I want to ask you, what is it like trying to raise that awareness and trying to spread um, a certain sort of positivity to change a sort of thinking or any possible stigma that surrounds stray animals?
Right. So I guess it all comes into a loop holistically, not considering just stray animals, right? But even wildlife as a whole, all animals. So basically, you see, photography is a visual medium which can convey the importance of a species. So me explaining to the people what the subject is, like if I take a picture of a leopard, and me explaining to the people, right, how elusive leopards are, or why I love leopards and why I protect them. Spreading awareness, as you said, Akul, is key, right? We have to letting people know what to do, the right thing to do rather, is the most important thing when it comes to conservation or saving this planet. And SPPA and photography, which are two things I do, run parallelly in terms of my photography explaining conservation through visual media by explaining what the subject is, and SPPA in terms of directly conducting events or conducting campaigns where before every event we brief whoever audience is, right? Let's say students in a college or people, our own volunteers, for example. We have over 500 volunteers part of SPPA. Explaining to each one of them directly, right, through SPPA, which is a platform which protects animals. So say this NGO directly communicating to them the importance of saving these animals will definitely bring forth that little change in them to say, oh, okay, today if I have an extra plate of food which I'm going to throw in the dustbin, I might as well take that plate and keep it outside my house, because there might be a dog or a stray cat outside, or even crows for that matter, that might come and benefit from this one extra plate of food that I was going to throw away. So that awareness is key, and I find, and I guess what I've been doing, photography and SPPA now are working, uh, are all just mediums in which I can convey the need to conserve these animals.
Yeah, so I have one more question, and it's basically going back to like photography. Um, what's next for you? Like, what's the next big animal that you want to capture? Like, since you got that 5 year dream and you accomplished it, what's next?
I have a very I have a plan, right? So it's basically I'm going to be in New York for the next 4 years, and there's this place in British Columbia, which is north. There's this place called Great Bear Rainforest, if you've heard of it. So that in the Great Bear Rainforest, there is this particular mutation of the black bear called a spirit bear or a Kermode bear. So that it's basically a cream colored black bear. So you know how there's a melanistic black leopard, again a mutation. So black leopard, like that, there is a cream colored bear, and they're usually cruises or like safari. The safari is on a cruise, and you can go to the Great Bear Rainforest, and there are sightings of these spirit bears, and that's the next thing I want to capture. And I guess a few years down the line, further when I'm back in India, I want to continue exploring more forests and more animals and getting to know each. It's not just the panther that's the story is built on. It's like getting to know every tiger, right? Every tiger or leopard or every elephant that's in a forest, right? Getting to know each one of them. So if you come with me to Kabini once, then I can name every not let I'm not going to say every, but I can name most of the tigers and leopards by the name that either the forest department or a Nat Geo crew, whoever might have given that name, I can name it just by seeing, the spots or the stripes on the tiger, right? So it's getting to know each one of these animals and their personality. So it's super interesting to learn about every animal. And I guess down a few years, let's say I want to probably film a documentary to again spread awareness and about these incredible animals that we have, and hopefully conserve and make this planet a better place for everyone.
Yeah, I have a friend who's done like a wildlife documentary with the Forest Department of Karnataka. So yeah, I mean that was
Oh,
pretty
okay.
cool. So I'm guessing you have bigger plans. But also,
That's brilliant.
in terms of like photography, um, if someone wanted to get into wildlife photography or anything related to like wildlife, what would you like? What would be your suggestion to them to just start?
Uh, First things first, don't be scared. Let's say wildlife, don't be scared. Because I know at least 70% of people in this country are scared, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to Kabini because they're tigers and tigers are dangerous." No, it's not. That's not how a forest works, right? These animals are incredible. Just you'll be in a jeep, you're all safe, and just the thrill you're going to experience. And I guess there is so much to explore, so many animals to see, and I guess not just don't just take your camera and a lens and say, I've clicked a beautiful picture, because there is a story behind every animal that you capture. So I guess when you go to a forest to do photography, or when you go to like just explore the wildlife, don't just take a picture and say, just don't just enjoy the picture. Learn about the animal, whoever your guide is, whoever your driver is. I'm pretty sure whichever forest you go, let it be Bandhavgarh, Jim Corbett, Kabini, the person who the driver or the guide who's going to take you will know a bit about the animal. So always learn about the subject, the animal that you're shooting, because I myself have learned so much about leopards and tigers over the past few years being with Shahs, like let it be a particular incident or like how its name originated. So these things will inevitably develop an emotional bond with these animals, right? Because imagine you hear how a leopard was probably, named the core area male, right? What was his story and why did he get that name? Once you hear that, you get a little more personal, connection with that animal. So always learn about these animals and not just, click blind. That's my advice.
Yeah, Akul, do you have any questions?
No, no. I think what you said there about um, each picture representing a story. Yeah, I think it's amazing how you said that that story shouldn't just be limited to what you see in the picture, but rather the story should just encapsulate everything that the animal has been through as well, right? That's a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fantastic, man.
because Akul's a photographer
Thank you
too.
so much.
I mean, not a wildlife photographer. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I've
don't
I've
know.
heard. I guess I've
It's
seen
Yeah,
Akul with a camera once in school, and I guess Navya told me once. So
yeah. I've never dabbled in wildlife photography. Yeah, it's definitely not something I've dipped my toes into in any which way. But yeah, just hearing about the things you've said, yeah, it makes me want to reconsider that. Really, that's awesome,
you
man.
should come with me to Kabini once. Before I head to New York, you guys should come with me. I'll take you. I'll host you on a safari.
yeah, definitely. I've been to Kavni once, and I was like really young, and I mean they gave us the option of like the road safari and the boat one, and I took the boat one because I wanted to go on the river. So I
I
mean
mean, two different perspectives.
I didn't see much because you can't from the river
Yeah.
it's harder. So um, yeah. Anyway, thanks for being on Against the Current. It was really fun and it kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things that you spoke about in terms of SPPA
Thank
and
you,
like
Jacob and Akil, for thank you guys for having me. I mean, thank you, and I love being on and love talking about the things that I genuinely have so much passion for. So thank you guys. Thank you.